Hey everybody. Yeah, I found that today we are pretty much coming here talking about the same thing repeat over and over again. So you guys have already heard about the Graphitino talk. We're talking about Iceberg. You've been like there's so many things about Iceberg, exciting things are happening about Iceberg. Like there's also Iceberg Summit going on, talking about materialized views, scanner planning, scan planning services, all those things, all those control security features. So here I'm going to talk about something a little bit more, basically going beyond the iceberg. So this is basically we are doing like expanding, introducing a generic table in Polaris catalog service, which is actually helping Polaris to help managing tables that goes beyond the iceberg. So before that, I'm going to give a little bit introduction about what the Apache Iceberg is. So it starts as a catalog service that tries to helps to manage all your Iceberg tables, and it implements the Apache Iceberg REST protocol to help you provide the cross-engine read-write interoperability. And it also implements a bunch of security features like RBAC controls and credential vendings and also policies to help provide a centralized security and RBAC controls. So it's mainly iceberg at that time. However, as all the talks mentioned, the real world it's not just iceberg. Like all the platforms involves more than one engines, and of course, people also use multiple table formats, data formats, and people choose all those different formats for different reasons. There are Delta table, Apache Hudi table, and there's also Lens, and even people want to use Parquet, CSV, all those directly, right? So those platforms needs a centralized management for all their data assets, which has to be expanded across different formats, across different data locations, and also provide centralized security, governance, all of those fine-grained access controls. However, today we lack a common REST protocol to help the catalog services to managing all those data assets together. So therefore, Polaris, as our Polaris service, we are trying to take the first step to going beyond the iceberg to provide a common protocol to help manage all the data assets across different formats. So we introduced some concept of generic table. We introduced a new set of APIs called generic table REST APIs, and therefore, Apache Polaris already implement this. It is able to manage Iceberg, Hudi, Delta tables on above all different storages. And we also provide an end-to-end solution to work with Spark and also like a Polaris service. So basically, you can just start your Spark session and try to manage your Delta tables, Iceberg tables, and also other like a Hudi table lens together within the same catalog service. Right. Before I go to next, I will talk about more details about what is Polaris generic table and also the Polaris Spark client we are working on, and also the ongoing improvement and for future works we are doing. And at the end, I also have a small demo recorded I can share with you guys, also share with everybody. Yeah, so this is what a generic table, the definition, it's basically generic table is basically mainly used to manage all the non-Iceberg data entity today. So this is a simple table, like a table that data in the response for load table, what will generic table return. So it has a simple format, which indicates what is your data format, like table format or data format. Keeps your base table locations and a set of properties, just a bag of general properties today. And it also provides a credential vending support. It will return a list of credentials, a list of credentials very similar as Iceberg also to help you to access the table. Yeah, to help you. And then also to support the set of REST APIs we introduced a new set of REST of APIs that's with Endpoints generic table, provides a post, get, delete, and also get capabilities to manage the database, to the first management of the tables. And so this is a new set of APIs. So what's the difference? We also Polaris also have implements a set of Iceberg table APIs. So these two set of what are the relationship between these two set of APIs inside Polaris? So the crate is basically today in Polaris we basically treat the Iceberg table and generic table as two complete different entities. And when you create Iceberg table, you are just creating a table with Iceberg format. When you are creating generic table, it's basically talking about all your non-Iceberg tables. So in other words, the Iceberg table entities and generic table entities are completely disjoint today. So therefore, when you're loading an Iceberg table, if the table table identity you pass is actually not an Iceberg table, you will get a no such table exception. Similarly for generic table, if you are try to load an Iceberg table through the generic table API, you'll also get an error. And similarly for when you drop, if you are dropping, accidentally try to drop the generic table through Iceberg endpoint, you'll get an error. And when you do list, the list tables under the Iceberg table endpoints will list you all the Iceberg tables, and all the list tables under the generic tables will give you all the other non-Iceberg tables. So they have a clear separation today. It has its advantage, but it also has its disadvantage also. The advantage is that it's very clear separation between all these two categories. So makes things very clear. There's a very clear boundary there. However, the disadvantage is that to get the whole view of your catalog, you have to call two APIs separately. And many times the client may not know when they have the table name, the table identifier, they may not know whether it's an Iceberg table or generic table. So therefore, the client might end up just calling the catalog service twice unnecessary. They might have to call first whether it's Iceberg. If it's not, I'll try generic table. And then if it's not, they say no tables, or they might find one. Right. So this also have some indication about our future works later I'll talk about. So this is basically now we have the service API, we have the server implementation, and then we can't just call REST API to complete all your works. Y'all do everything manually. So we pick up Spark as the most popular community and engine to provide the integration with Spark with the Polaris service. We also basically we implement the Spark catalog and provides so the Spark catalog is able to handle both the non-Iceberg and non-Iceberg tables. So you have this Spark catalog and Spark catalog implementation here, and this implementation have the capability to interact with both endpoint, the Iceberg endpoints and non-Iceberg endpoints to complete your workloads. Yeah, so this is basically the kind of work we are doing now. We already finished the Polaris server support for generic table and the Spark client support, which today we already have capability to handle Iceberg table, Delta table, Apache Hudi, and also Payment. And there's also integration with Lens, and this is done by the Lens community actually. And now right now we are working on implementing the Credential Vending for generic table. And in the future, there's actually a bunch of discussions we are trying to talk about to improve basically make Polaris more powerful, going beyond Iceberg. One is extension to other non-Iceberg table entities like Parquet or even unstructured data. And also we were talking about V2 generic table. Basically, we are trying to promote the generic table as a catalog of all the catalogs, which can also cover the Iceberg tables, not just the non-Iceberg tables. So if we do this, then the kind of disadvantage I talked about before, that will the list for a table as far as the user calls the generic table endpoint, they'll just get the whole view of all the catalog, all the data entities in their catalog. They don't have to call different APIs to get the whole views of the data catalogs. And then we also want to provide client support with other engines such as Trino, and also catalog federation for generic tables. I think you guys, there's also talk about federations. And this is more talk federation for Iceberg catalog. But here, we are more talking about catalog federation for non-Iceberg tables, which we want to integrate with Glue and HMS, also Hadoop. All right. Okay, let me see if the sound plays fine. The next is basically, this is a simple demo, shows what happens in the, let me actually make it large, just a bit. Oh, don't show, sorry, it actually doesn't show up very well. Let me see. Okay, actually, before I go to demo, do you guys have any question that I can answer before we get to the demo?
This is a Jupyter notebook. First, use the Spark demo shows how to use the Spark to rewrite those Iceberg and I already started a local Polaris service. This is a Jupyter notebook. First, we'll create a Polaris client using the root credentials to connect with the local server. And then we'll create
settings in here, audio output. Oh, audio output. Oh, what I can do is I can just, mute it and I'll talk about it. It might be easier.
how to use it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so this is basically a demo about how to use, start a Polaris service and connect, a Spark notebook to actually, talk to Polaris service to manage your both Iceberg table and Delta table. Sorry, this may not show up very well. So this is step one. We are trying to create the catalog, which is called a demo. And then we are trying to create a principal and a principal role and a catalog role, which are all Polaris concept to help you to provide the RBAC controls. So we create two roles, the two principals. One is a read-only principal, which will have only read capability. And also one engineer principal, which have the full capability that you can read, write all your tables. And then now here, once you create all those things, so we will try to create a Spark session with first the engineer role that has a full capability to start doing create and update table, create table, update tables. And here we are putting our implemented basically this is whatever whatever Polaris provided, the Polaris Spark client instead of the Iceberg client, very similar as Iceberg, it's just a different client. And we are not, so this is the client Spark catalog that implementation we provide. And we are now connect to the local Polaris service URI and also use the credentials from the engineer principal that has all the capabilities. And this is first thing is basically just to try to use the catalog that we call it Polaris. And it doesn't show namespace. Right now, there's no namespace on it. And now we are creating namespace, Delta namespace. We call it Delta namespace. And now we are create a Delta table under the Delta namespace. Right. And this shows the data table. This is a local file system. If you want to use S3 or other cloud storage, you can use it. You just need to configure all your storage credential properly for the Spark to actually connect with it. And then we are insert like did a show table, and then you can see the table people under the namespace already. And this table right now is empty. So this is showing inserting record to the table because the user right now have all the right capability. And now this the above is Delta table, and now we are giving an example to create the Iceberg table under the same namespace also. So then you see if you do show tables, you'll see both table, country, and people, and then similarly inserting values to the Iceberg table. And now here we are creating a new Spark session with the restricted principal, basically the read-only principal, using the read-only principal credentials to start the Spark session. So since we are using read-only principal, when we do show tables, it still works. When you do any read operations, it will do select star also works. Now this is when we try to do job. Since it's a read-only user, you'll see it actually gets not authorized error. So the RBAC control are all done at the Polaris service side. And this is switching back to the original session that has a full capability. And this one is actually able to job the tables properly. Right, so you can see that the table has been jobbed. And now this one is just dropping all the tables. So now we got no tables anymore. Right, that was a demo that we have. And yeah, so this is basically we do we want you guys to help if you can join the community and help improve Polaris to cover more table format. We have a lot of exciting things, and this is a QR code that you can scan to get to the source code. Like it's a open source Apache Polaris code, and we just graduated this year, like a couple 1 month ago. So we are like formally a former Apache project now.